Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're literally jumping right into the freezing rain at 2:13 a.m. We're going to unpack the true story of baker Raj Patel and really look at the exact mechanics of what it takes to rebuild a life from absolute zero.
Picture this, 2:13 a.m., the neon sign, buzzing like a failing heartbeat. We're starting right in the thick of it. Imagine standing out there in the biting cold, watching the absolute last box get loaded into the back of a moving truck. And not just any box, mind you, but the specific one containing your father's irreplaceable, precious recipes. In just a matter of hours, everything Raj had painstakingly built was stripped away. It left him with literally nothing but his name on a closed glass door and a broken promise. Section 1. A dream washed away. The stakes of failure. To really wrap our heads around the sheer gravity of this moment, we have to look at what was actually at stake that night out on that empty street. You know, it wasn't just a small business closing its doors. This was the total collapse of a life he'd constructed from scratch over 5 years of intense, dedicated building. See, Raj came to America with just a single suitcase to honor his father's legacy. He built Patel Bakery into this beloved local spot, famous for these amazing signature cardamom buns, quiet midnight kindness, and deep neighborhood trust. And then, all of that was erased by one single night of ruin. It was this brutal, perfect storm. Creditor notices, a devastating betrayal by his manager, and a literal disastrous storm that washed away half a decade of hard work. The stakes here were entirely existential. Sitting on that curb, rain just soaking through his thin jacket, Raj wasn't only facing bankruptcy. Without immediate funds, he was staring down the barrel of losing his visa, losing his home, and completely losing his father's legacy. Everything he anchored his identity to was suddenly, violently unmoored. But you know, his pride burned hotter than the chill. Feeling totally isolated by his own failure, Raj actually ignored a former customer, a woman who used to buy cinnamon rolls from him, when she stopped in the rain to ask if he was okay. He just shook his head. He kept walking until he ended up sleeping in brief, painful bursts on a subway bench. He even called his sister back in Pune and lied to her. Why? Because the truth of his failure just felt entirely too heavy to say out loud.
Section 2. Baking from the ground up. The turning point.
So what does the absolute ground floor of a comeback look like? In Raj's case, it was exactly $20. The turning point finally came at dawn when this flyer for a local Makers Wanted community marketplace caught his tired eyes. Armed with practically nothing, we're talking a borrowed church table, a battered cooler, and a hand-lettered sign, Raj took his final $20 and spent every last cent on flour and yeast. He had zero money left. But hey, he knew how to bake. Now, don't get me wrong, this wasn't some overnight, cinematic success story where everything magically fixes itself. Hour 1, he sold exactly 3 bread rolls. Hour 2, just 5. Those first few hours, tucked away in the corner of a skeptical parking lot, were an incredibly gritty, painfully slow, and totally unglamorous climb. People just walked right by. It was a massive uphill battle just to survive the morning. But, as we see so often, consistency and quality pay off. A real glimmer of hope arrived when a local food blogger tasted one of his buns and posted this online. Cardamom comfort from a hidden corner. That single, glowing review completely changed his trajectory. It started bringing locals back to his little folding table, and it even secured him a small consignment deal with a local cafe. Now, the money wasn't nearly enough to replace his bakery, not by a long shot, but it bought him something way more valuable. It bought him hope. Then, right as momentum started building, reality hit hard. The landlord of his shuttered shop filed a formal claim against him, which completely froze his incoming payments. Ouch. It's a classic setback, right? In any comeback journey, it seems like every small win is immediately followed by a new threatening challenge. It just goes to prove that comebacks are never these easy linear progressions.
Section 3. The power of a story. A crucial lesson. It was exactly at this highly vulnerable, frozen stage that an elderly retired chef named Mr. Wheeler stepped in. He looked at Raj and said, "Your bread tastes like someone remembers home, but you've got to make them remember you." Man, that is powerful. Mr. Wheeler helped Raj realize something absolutely foundational about human nature and commerce. Baking good bread, it simply wasn't enough anymore. In such a crowded, noisy market, Raj had to forge a genuine human connection, and he had to do it through authentic storytelling. So together they implemented this brilliantly simple 3-step narrative approach. Step 1, write a handwritten note about the history of the recipe. Step 2, display a photo of his father right there in the pastry case. And step 3, use highly personal packaging, actually stamping it with the phrase, "Baked at Dawn by Raj." This completely transformed his product. It wasn't just mere flour and water anymore. It was a deeply personal story. And because of those 3 simple steps, people stopped just buying bread, and they started buying into Raj's story.
Section 4. Rebuilding with community, the true climax. This is where things really take off. His rapid, community-fueled ascent started by using those small profits to launch Saturday pop-ups. Then he got creative. He started filming raw, honest behind-the-scenes clips on his phone, showing his mistakes, the messy morning rush, the whole shebang. But the real tipping point? That happened when he went viral locally with a video that had his mother singing an old Marathi lullaby in the background. That raw authenticity just exploded into a wildly successful crowdfunding campaign. He raised exactly what he needed to secure a shared commercial kitchen and pay off those immediate debts. Fast forward a few months, and he officially reopened under a modified sign: Patel Bakery, Recipes and Stories. Now, it wasn't the massive, sprawling storefront of his original dreams. Actually, it was just a compact, sunlit corner in a co-op market. But you know what? It was exactly what he needed. It perfectly reflected his brand new ethos, valuing authentic connection way over massive scale. And get this, the very first customer on his opening morning was the exact same woman he had proudly ignored on the curb in the freezing rain on the night he lost everything. She walked right up, hugged him, and delivered this incredibly beautiful line: "We kept your secret oven alive." Finally, Raj's father's recipe was safe. Raj's journey proved something so important. True resilience, it requires far more than just financial capital. It's about trust rebuilt and roots replanted. But more importantly than any of that, it requires the humility to drop your pride. It's learning to actively ask for help, sharing your authentic truth, and ultimately letting the people around you carry you when you just cannot carry yourself. Raj lost absolutely everything in a single night, but he found something far more durable in its place. Which leaves us with a pretty critical question to think about as we wrap up today's explainer. When was the last time you let your community carry you? Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I highly encourage you to really reflect on that question as you step back into your own life.